You know that feeling. Standing in front of the mirror, making the same promise you made last week. This time will be different. But deep down, you already doubt yourself. Most of us live trapped in a cycle of attempted change followed by predictable failure. We buy self-help books that collect dust. We start diets that last 3 days. We promise to be more patient, more disciplined, more present, and then we're not. I spent years wondering why transformation is so rare. Why do most people remain essentially the same their entire lives despite desperately wanting to change? The answer isn't lack of information or motivation. The real barriers run deeper. Your brain is designed to resist change. Neurologically speaking, change requires enormous energy. Your brain consumes roughly 20% of your body's energy while making up only 2% of your mass. When you attempt something new, your neural pathways must form fresh connections, a process that demands significant resources. Evolution favored consistency over transformation. Predictable behaviors kept our ancestors alive in dangerous environments, where experimentation often meant death. We're wired to stick with what works, even when what works makes us miserable. But these biological explanations only scratch the surface. Let me tell you about James. He complained constantly about his job, toxic boss, meaningless tasks, soul-crushing commute. For years he talked about quitting. His friends encouraged him. He had savings. He had options. Yet James stayed, growing more bitter each year. Why? The comfort of the known exceeded his fear of the unknown. The devil you know feels safer than the angel you don't. This explains part of our resistance to change, but something even more fundamental blocks our path to transformation. You don't change because you're not supposed to. From childhood, we internalized unwritten rules about who we are and how we should behave. These rules come from parents, teachers, friends, and society. They form an invisible cage around our potential. Psychologist Alfred Adler called this our life script, a story we unconsciously follow that dictates our choices. Breaking from this script triggers what he termed separation anxiety, fear of being cast out from our social groups. Think about it. Have you ever tried to change only to face resistance from those closest to you? Maybe you started eating healthier and friends mocked your choices. Perhaps you pursued a passion and family members questioned your priorities. This resistance isn't coincidental. Groups maintain stability by enforcing conformity. When you change, you threaten the established order. But external resistance pales compared to the war waged within your own mind. We fear judgment. We fear failure. Most of all, we fear success, because success would demand we maintain our new identity, facing challenges we've never encountered. I once worked with a client who lost 100 pounds. Instead of feeling proud, she panicked. Her entire identity had been built around being the big girl with the great personality. Without this familiar identity, who was she? What would people expect from her now? How would relationships change? 6 months later, she regained the weight. This pattern repeats across almost every area of attempted change. We sabotage our progress because transformation threatens our core identity. As psychiatrist Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The deepest reason people resist change is the belief they don't deserve better. This isn't always conscious. It manifests as self-sabotage, as choosing partners who mistreat us, as settling for less in careers and relationships. Psychologists call this emotional coherence, the unconscious need to maintain consistency between our inner beliefs and outer experiences. If you believe you're unworthy, success feels wrong, even threatening. Your actions will unconsciously align with your self-image, no matter how destructive. So how do you break free? First, recognize that change isn't just about behavior, it's about identity. Asking, "What should I do differently?" addresses only surface symptoms. The real question is, who must I become? James Joyce wrote, "Mistakes are the portals of discovery." Your failures aren't evidence of weakness. They're signposts revealing your unexamined beliefs. When you repeatedly fail at the same goal, ask, what would succeeding mean about me? What would I lose if I changed? Who would I disappoint? What identity would I have to abandon? These questions expose the invisible scripts controlling your life. Second, understand that discomfort is necessary. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone. The anxiety you feel when attempting change isn't a warning sign, it's evidence you're moving in the right direction. Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron calls this the wisdom of no escape. True transformation requires facing what we've spent our lives avoiding. Third, create environments that support your new identity. We dramatically underestimate how much our surroundings shape our behavior. Change your environment, and you change the person within it. This means potentially difficult choices about relationships. Some people in your life are invested in you remaining exactly as you are. They may not consciously wish to limit you, but they benefit from your current identity. As Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This isn't motivational fluff, it's psychological reality. Fourth, practice self-compassion. Perfectionism kills change. Research by Dr. Kristen Neff shows that self-compassion, not self-criticism, predicts long-term success and behavior change. When you fail, and you will, speak to yourself as you would to a friend. Recognize that struggling is universal. Return to your path without the added burden of shame. Finally, embrace the paradox at the heart of lasting change. True transformation comes when you accept yourself exactly as you are. This sounds contradictory, but it's profound truth. When you stop fighting yourself, when you drop the exhausting pretense that you should be different, you create space for authentic growth. Psychologist Carl Rogers observed that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Change doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means becoming more fully yourself, removing the masks you've worn to please others, healing the wounds that limited your potential, and expressing what philosopher Martha Nussbaum calls your human flourishing. Most people never change because they're trying to become what others want rather than discovering who they truly are. The path to transformation isn't about adding something new but removing what blocks your authentic self. It's about peeling away layers of conditioning until you stand naked in your truth. This journey isn't easy. It requires courage few are willing to summon. It demands facing pain most prefer to numb. It means risking judgment from those who benefit from your limitations. But on the other side of that fear lies freedom, not just to do differently, but to be differently. To live from your center rather than from your wounds. To choose rather than react. The question isn't whether you can change. The question is whether you're willing to become who you already are.